X-Men First Class charts the epic beginnings of the X-Men saga and reveals a secret history of famous global events.
It shall be the policy of this nation to regard any nuclear missile launched from Cuba against any nation in the Western Hemisphere as an attack by the Soviet Union on the United States.
Before they were Professor X and Magneto, they were Charles and Eric, two best friends who gather a team of mutants to save the planet from nuclear annihilation. The destiny of these two powerful mutants,
You ready for this? Let's find out.
and the mythology of the X-Men are set into motion in X-Men First Class.
Killing will not bring you peace. Peace was never an option.
Today we're here to talk about X-Men First Class, directed by Matthew Vaughn. We've all just seen it, and we are joined today by a new reviewer, Hernando.
Welcome.
All right.
Cheers. All right.
So Dennis, why don't we start with you?
This is the story of Professor X and Magneto when they were young men, and how they met and how they became friends, almost brothers, before they had their falling out. It sets this during the highest of Cold War tensions, which is the Cuban Missile Crisis.
I thought that was very clever.
So the Cuban Missile Crisis thing is essentially a way to make movies seem smarter than it really is. I think it's a cute gesture towards international
Well, I have to
politics.
tell you, I felt really smart being able to recognize the Cuban. I was like, oh, that's
exactly. It was just what you do for a summer blockbuster, is that you take complicated ideas and make them seem simple. Because being an X-Men, being a mutant, is variously compared to almost any kind of minority over the course of the last century. So it's about being Jewish in 1940s Germany, it's about being gay in 1960s and 70s America.
This is Hank McCoy.
How wonderful. Another mutant already here. Why didn't you say?
Say what?
Because you don't know. I am so terribly sorry.
Hank? Didn't ask, so I didn't tell.
It's about being black pretty much throughout the entire course of American history.
Pretty much any time in American history.
And if you're going to give me this politics, you're going to give me all this, intrigue in terms of racial and gender stereotyping and minorities and discrimination, you can't just give me the tip.
But isn't that what the mutants are? I mean, I've always thought that that's why they are mutants, is to kind of be the stand-in for all of this other type of political.
No, it's satisfied with appearing to be smart without actually being smart, and I think that's my problem.
The thing with the X-Men is, this whole idea of who the mutants are, the metaphor for pick your poison. It could be teenage alienation, it could be any kind of racial, gender, sexual preference bias, what have you. You can't do an X-Men story without having that. And yet, if you try to make it some kind of this deep treatise on racial equality, then you're just going to bore the hell out of everybody, and it's going to be the most unfun, unentertaining comic book movie ever.
To elaborate on his point,
actually,
I just feel like because the first 4 movies have pretty much been all about that.
Yeah, exactly.
So I just feel like, if they try to do the same thing again, it might be a little bit too much.
Let's talk about these mutants and who was cast in these roles. Wayne and Hernando, what do you all think about the cast in this film?
Well, I think that they should call this movie X-Men Magneto. I really believe Michael Fassbender, he is the strongest, I would say, character in the movie. His acting is incredible in this film.
Just pointing out something that could save your life. You want society to accept you, but you can't even accept yourself.
And he really holds the screen completely.
I agree with you 100%.
He lifts every scene he's in.
If you want to talk about Michael Fassbender, you have to talk about James McAvoy.
I agree.
And I feel like both of those people, they're great, but it's just that their materials are so different.
It's like Clarice Starling and Hannibal Lecter. Who has the best lines? Who has the best action? It's the villain.
Exactly.
And but he eats the scenery so much.
Yeah, but if you think about it, Michael Fassbender, for Magneto, he has a really tragic past. Yeah. So, and his entire role in the movie is just this conflicted
Xavier
person.
Is so high-minded, he has no fun. He doesn't do anything.
He has that moment where he's drinking in the bar and you get to see something you never imagined you'd see out of Charles Xavier. He's slamming beers and picking up chicks.
And
this is Charles Xavier, but it worked. It was great.
And I feel like that's harder to capture as an emotion because he has that little smugness. He's come from a very privileged household.
Can we talk for a second though about how the female characters are underwritten and underacted? Yes. I mean, January Jones.
Well, wait a minute. The comic is called X-Men.
Oh
So.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow,
No,
you actually went really.
Of course I did.
But we should talk about the women because January Jones does a fine job. She's like all boob. I mean, more or less.
That's all you care about?
No, I mean, but
She's cardboard.
But she has one note.
I felt like when I see a white girl with white hair and all white clothing and she turns into white diamonds and her name is Emma Frost, I'm okay with her being stiff and cold and frigid. I mean, that's kind of what I expect, and I'm like, okay, I buy it. I'm like, she had nice boobs.
There's a war coming, John.
Yes. But a war with who?
Excellent question. Though I wouldn't call it a war exactly. That suggests both sides stand an equal chance of winning.
So let's switch for a minute here, and let's talk about maybe some of the lacking performance had to do with the direction. Matthew Vaughn, let's talk about that.
The opening was so confident, so strong. It was you could sense the economy right away. But as the plot kicked in and it went into World War III and the Cuban Missile Crisis, there was too much going on, and you could see him losing grasp as the film went on. Clearly, he can direct action sequences. I mean, the clarity in the finale was incredible. I thought, but just too much plot.
I was very pleased with how seriously he took the whole mutants and the struggles they were going through, but I was unhappy with how unseriously he took the Cuban Missile Crisis, which of the two is the thing that was real and actually happened, and he turned that into basically a plot element out of Dr. No or You Only Live Twice.
In keeping with the director and how he orchestrates a complete film, talk a little bit about the editing. What did you think about that?
I think the real star of this movie is Lee Smith. He, edited The Dark Knight, Inception. He's done the last couple of Nolan films and a bunch of Peter Weir movies.
We can't talk about the editor in this film without touching on the worst edit I have seen in recent memory. Come on. They're hanging out at the CIA headquarters. They compare being a mutant to slavery, and then who do they cut to, Wayne?
There's a revolution coming when mankind discovers who we are, what we can do. Each of us will face a choice. Be enslaved.
Who do they cut to?
Fine, the black guy, all right?
Exactly.
See, there you go. But then, like, if you think about it, all right.
But any movie that can encompass like 50 locations in the span of 20 seconds and still for the audience to retain that, it's impressive.
Seen it. I think it's time for us to take it to a vote. X-Men First Class. Okay. Will you reach for your tickets?
Sure.
Oh, James. Why don't we start with you, dear heart?
All right. In spite of all the vitriol, I did quite like X-Men First Class. I just don't think it's destination viewing. I don't think it's essential for the summer. So if you're going to see it, go see it in the theater. But otherwise, I think you can just go ahead and stream it.
The fact that I actually enjoyed this 5th installment of this franchise should be saying enough. So I say see it.
X-Men First Class. It's not as good as X2, it's not as bad as X3, X4, but it features great performances by Michael Fassbender and James McAvoy, so I say, see it.
Awesome. And fanboy ultimate par excellence, Dennis, we're going to let you wrap this up.
I felt that this was like an X-Men issue come to life, and I don't think that a comic book fan can give any higher praise to a comic book movie. So, see it.
Well, that is 3.5 tickets, and so that is a see it for X-Men First Class.
Cheers.
Cheers. Chin-chin.
Welcome to the bunch, Fernando.
There you go.